What's going on, guys? So in today's video, I'm going to be reacting to Mr. Who's the Boss's smartphones of 2023. I'm pretty excited to watch this video. You guys reached out to me and said that I should react to this, so I'm going to do it live in front of you guys. So I'm going to try and guess what the winner is for the category, but I will say I'm probably at a disadvantage because he is not in North America, so he has the ability to have a lot more smartphone brands at his disposal. So I'm expecting to, let's just say I'm gonna get 50% right, from what I know, because it's only Samsung, Google, and Apple. But without further ado, let's give a word to our sponsor, Nobody, and let's get into the video.
The smartphone market in 2023 has definitely had its lows and its highs. Okay, let's start with foldables, because this is one of those markets where I do genuinely believe we have just witnessed a game changer.
Okay, so best foldable. My prediction is going to be the Z Flip 5. The reason why I say that is because I think the Z Flip series always gets overshadowed by the actual foldable phones that are bigger, like when they open up as a tablet. By the way, this is a OnePlus Open. This is my where my main SIM card is. But I think the Flip series is just way more accessible to most people. It's not as much friction in order to switch over. Even when I go out and travel and just like see a lot more people, I see a lot more people. Sounds like I'm a loner. Anyway, I just see a lot more flips than I do folds. And I think that a lot of the awards go over to the fold because it's more expensive. But the Flip series just always seems to be overshadowed for no apparent reason. So my guess is gonna be the Z Flip 5 because that new outer display, it's a pretty nice touch.
Samsung has basically been the winner by default for the last 5 years, being the only company to actually make a top-tier foldable that's also globally available. Just now,
it's not Samsung.
They finally got it in the form of the OnePlus Open.
It has a more competitive price, better cameras, nicer construction, it's got longer battery life, and most importantly, unique
software that really makes the big screen.
Hold up!
It's the first
ever foldable. What?
To actually compete with the Samsung, and in my opinion, genuinely just straight up come out on top.
Huh? Better battery life? Sure. Better camera? There's no way. All right, let's talk about the OnePlus Open real quick, because personally, I don't think it should have won Best Foldable. And listen, OnePlus, I'm taking your trophy. But listen, when this phone was first announced, it went crazy. I'm pretty sure everyone was hyped when OnePlus announced this phone. When I watched the reviews, there was a lot, and I do mean a lot of song of praise on this device. And trust me, it is a good foldable phone. Don't get me wrong. However, I think it's overrated. Like when I'm using this phone, there are times where I'm just like, this phone is not as good as what other people are saying. The camera especially, and I'm not gonna spend too much time on this because I'm gonna leave it for my full review. There was a lot of praise on this camera. I don't think the camera is that amazing, especially when it comes to the video department. The only thing I really want to say is better camera. I don't really buy that statement. I do think the Z Fold and even the Flip 5 have better cameras than the OnePlus Open. The other problem that I have with the OnePlus Open is the display, especially on the outside. This outer display, comfortable, it's great, but there's just a lot of inconsistencies with its refresh rate. It's supposed to dynamically change, but it's just more jarring. You can definitely see that, where I don't have that problem on my Z Fold 5 or even my Z Flip 5. But regardless, OnePlus Open won. A little salty, but hey, it is what it is. Give them some claps. Gotta give credit where credit is due.
The shakeups continue as we now go on to the best compact phone. For a few years now.
So when it comes to the best compact phone, there's not that many compact phones here in the US. I'm gonna give it over to Asus, the Zenfone, because it always wins year after year. And I don't really know what else can compete with the Zenfone because that phone really is compact. But yeah, that's gonna be my guess. If it's some international phone that I never heard of, well, hey, props to you.
For a few years now, I've been consistently giving this award to one company, Asus. They make this line of phones called the Zenphones, competing directly with the likes of Samsung's flagships. And I just don't feel quite like the camera tuning or the software support is close to this level.
S23, best compact phone, I can agree with that.
So what are your other options? Well, I've actually played around quite a lot with this base Galaxy S23. I think this phone looks good. I think it performs well. It's a really great size, and
let me get mine.
S23,
baby!
Takes it. Well, I genuinely think the best compact phone of 2023 belongs to none other than Sony with the Xperia 5 Mark V. The thing is really high.
The Sony Xperia 5V? Who? What? The Sony? What? Okay, we need this audited. How did Sony get picked? I actually want to hear his justification. The Sony's better. Listen, I can understand the Sony overtaking the Zen Fold if you just want something different in the category to win. But to say that the Sony is a better compact phone than the S23, let's look at the sales on this. You kidding me? Let me hear the justification.
Spec, it's got cameras that, so long as you're willing to put a bit of time into learning how to properly use, have a really high ceiling. What I particularly appreciate is that its battery life is way longer than the Samsung's. Like, it will literally still be on 30% by the time the Samsung runs out.
I can't vouch for that because I've never used the Sony, but if that is true, valid.
And also, the ratio. The tall, narrow ratio of this phone makes it feel way smaller than it actually is. This is comfy.
I actually want to look up the dimensions between these three devices real quick. I need to know the ratios that signify of what dimensions categorically puts you in compact. But this thing is 154 millimeters. Man, Sony paid for this spot 100%, no way.
To the best battery category. Because, to be honest, it is so good here that you...
Best battery. So the best battery goes into two categories, right? Or basically two big nominations. You have your Ultra or your Pro series phones that have, it's basically the upper echelon of a flagship device like your S23 Ultra, 15 Pro Max, and the international Pro versions of their phones. But people also forget that there are phones that don't have 5G antenna bands, don't have, crazy high refresh rates, don't have a super nice display, and that battery can take them a long way. So I don't think it's going to be an Ultra or a Pro level device. I think it's going to be one or more of like a non-5G, not non-5G, but like a non-flagship phone. Could be international as well.
Could well just call it the Xperia 5 Mark 5 again and leave it at that. But I'm instead going to hand it to a different Sony phone, the Xperia 10 Mark 5. Simply because it keeps...
The Xperia 10 what? How is Sony winning? They're sweeping the competition. They're 2 for 1. What? I swear, if Sony wins Best Smartphone of the Year, I'm actually going to be mad because that award for sure goes to Samsung S23 Ultra, without a doubt. Listen, I guess on a technicality level, you can say the Sony Xperia 10 Mark V is the best battery life, but I feel as though there needs to be other requirements to be in this nomination. Like, no offense, I don't know the sales of the Sony phones, but I've never, and I really do mean never, I've never seen a Sony phone in anyone's hand. Listen, I'm in North America. It's literally Google, Samsung, Apple. If you're overseas, please let me know if you've seen a Sony phone or if you know someone who has a Sony phone, but I've never seen this phone ever in my life. But once again, on a technicality, hey, you probably do have the best battery life.
I think it's time we talk about the most improved phone of the year.
This category, I will say OnePlus with the 11, simply because, OnePlus kind of lost its way, but they kind of made their ways back. I do think their software needs a little bit more fine tuning in terms of a user experience. The animations and all that stuff is nice, but functionality over things that look cool, right? There's still some choices that are questionable on OnePlus, like they have Wi-Fi 7 in their device, but they don't have wireless charging, which really doesn't make sense to me because, their whole Warp wireless charging was a big selling point back in the day, and now it's just gone. And I think for a device that sells at the OnePlus 11, people probably don't have Wi-Fi 7. So OnePlus is a contender. Nothing as well. The Nothing Phone 2, I think, was a very much improved phone from the first generation. I think they were just trying to make their way into the market, but they kind of, put their nose down and focused on what they were trying to do. So the Nothing Phone 2 can also be a contender here. And I'll also give it over to the Pixel. And I'm only saying that because of my experience with the Pixel 7 Pro and the 7, it was horrendous. And, it was like a 50-50 split in the comments. So with the 8, I think they've made a lot of improvements here. But if I had to choose one, I'm actually going to give it over to the Nothing Phone 2. Even though recently they've been making terrible decisions.
mix things up very much. But do you know who really did? Genuinely? Motorola. And I know it's kind of
Yo, the Motorola Edge 30 Ultra. I have never seen this phone. And listen, this is probably because I'm a small content creator. I don't notice this stuff. This stuff goes under the radar. But Motorola is an American company. I should know this. I don't think people know this, but I think Motorola is like the third biggest market share when it comes to smartphones in the US. Might be Pixel, but I think Motorola is like, it is there, right? I'm surprised, right? I'm actually shocked that this is the most improved, although most improved was the bar. It must have been the bar must have been really low for Motorola these past couple of years. Hey, good job, Motorola. Take your trophy. By the way, I got most improved in band when I played the trumpet. I was the worst trumpet player, and then my teacher made me feel terrible, so I tried super hard, got first chair, and had a solo. Thank you. And I won a most improved trophy.
let's talk best gaming phone, best camera. So I can definitely feel
Okay, best gaming phone. I think this is going to be a pretty clean sweep. It's probably going to be the ROG by Asus. It's hard to compete in this category when a division is dedicated to making gaming focused stuff. And that phone just does a lot of crazy things in order to optimize a gaming experience. Would I own one? Maybe, but yeah, I think it's going to win. When it comes to best camera, if he's putting them together, I'm surprised if it's the same phone, but let's just see. Let's see.
it felt like the concept was massive in the early smartphone days.
This can also go to the iPhone since the iPhone can play AAA titles. And if you plug it into, a display or something, you basically have a mini gaming console in your phone. So iPhone 15, don't count that phone out, or it's just the iPhone 15 Pro, right? That is also another contender.
It's fueled by,
The phone thermal throttle, so maybe not.
which leads us to gaming phone of the year, the Asus ROG phone.
What'd I say?
But if I had to guess the single question that
Not much to say here. It's ROG. It's their category.
which phone currently has the best camera? It feels like that's become
Best camera, I think this is always a sweep every single year. It's got to be the iPhone. As much as I love the S23 Ultra and even the Pixel, right? Those phones take amazing photos. Photos that I think are actually better than the iPhone. However, it's best camera. And when it comes to the best camera, you have to think of things like the video and how versatile, how consistent it is, what are its capabilities. And I just think that the iPhone is a much more packaged camera system than its competitors. The video quality is good on the S23 Ultra, but it's just better on the iPhone. I know a lot of Android fans aren't gonna like that, but I feel as though you really have to use an iPhone, like a pro level iPhone, to understand how good that video is. Because when it comes to photos, it's honestly neck and neck. But video, I think that's what always separates Apple from the rest of the pack. So it's gonna be an iPhone 15 or 15 Pro Max. That would be my guess. If it's an Android device, hey, I'm hollering, I'm screaming.
it's got to be the iPhone 15 Pro Max.
What'd I say? What's my record right now? Listen, no matter what they say in terms of technicalities and the camera, I do think it's just the video that makes iPhone better. Period. And I will debate that till the sun explodes. I'm serious.
So when it comes to budget phones, the things that I tend to look for are actually very different.
So, budget phones. Let's talk about budget phones for a second. So, I live in the United States of America. I don't know why I said the full country name, but this is a country where we spend an absurd amount of money on things we truly don't need. And I think companies have exploited that for years at this point. It's just the nature of our culture and society. Let's not get philosophical here, but I genuinely don't think there's a budget phone in this country. I don't know what the limits are for a budget phone, but I would say like budget in the US is like $500, to be completely honest. Yes, there are phones that are less than $500, but they are just considerably worse, and you're probably going to replace them in a year or two. So I don't think it's going to be Samsung, Google, or Apple that's going to win in this category. I would say for my own personal judgment, I don't know what's out there, right? Because internationally, the phones you can get for like $300, $350, even $250 is just leaps and bounds better than what you can get in America. So I don't know. Is the Poco phone still a thing? Because I remember watching an MKBHD video like 3-4 years ago when he talked about Poco for the first time, and it was just an amazing phone for the value. So that would be my guess. Other than that, I'm basically shooting in the dark here. So let's see what it is.
And specs are often the limiting factor.
It
You
is.
need a certain level of hardware for the software to just be able
This
to
guy's
run
speaking
with it.
facts.
And there's one phone that I feel like has picked the best things to prioritize here. The Poco X5 Pro. Things like the chips.
Poco. Wait, have I been pronouncing it wrong? The Xiaomi, is this the Poco phone? I'm so confused. Maybe, maybe not, I don't know, but it's a Xiaomi. Hey, $280, let me see what the specs you get.
The Snapdragon 778G, which is really good for both performance and battery
285, sheesh.
life. Things like the screen, which honestly, for anyone but the most hardcore techies, will most likely feel flagship. Even the camera is a very respectable 108 megapixel sensor.
Okay, yeah, so this is like the Poco series. Let's go. Even though I don't live internationally, I'm with the international crowd, let's be honest. Xiaomi, you're still making the Poco phone, I had no idea.
Your iPhone 15 Pro or your Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra camera for a few weeks, I would have no real issue with it because
Wait, what? You'd have no issue going from a $1,000 phone to a $280 phone? Listen, I'm looking at this photo here. It does not look that I'd be having problems.
I know that with a very little bit of editing, I can get very close to the best phones out there.
That's cap. That's cap. There's no way.
But as you start to creep up to the mid-range category, you can be a little fussier. So they've decided to ship it with the Exynos 2200, which is a nearly 2-year-old chip. That
Gross.
was still not the fastest or most
Eliminate
efficient chip.
them.
Galaxy A54 is really good too. It's a tier below.
Okay, so when it comes to best mid-range phone, this is actually a pretty tough category. The S23 FE, no shot. The A54, whatever by Samsung, no shot. I don't think Samsung, when it comes to like mid-range, Samsung sells those phones really well, but I think the phones that get the best recognition is their S lineup, so I don't think they're gonna win this. The Nothing Phone 2 is actually really compelling. Once again, I'm surprised they didn't win the most improved phone, but man, this is a tough category. What else is like mid-range? Google 7A. Is that better than the Nothing Phone 2 though? I do like how the Nothing Phone 2 is a bigger display, but you have to give credit to Google and their smart features and the camera. Okay, so if I had to get a recommendation to someone of what smartphone to pick for $600, it's gotta be the Pixel 7a, in all honesty. I just haven't seen enough of Nothing Phone 2 in order to give them their award. And I just think the smart features, at least here available in the US, that the Pixel 7a is just the solid choice. So that's gonna be my pick. Also, if you haven't watched my review of the Pixel 7a, I sing a lot of praise about that phone. I love the Pixel 7a.
With the winning phone, the Pixel 7a. And holding it like
This phone, when you're using it day to day, it feels like it has...
Pixel 7a, please go watch my review of the Pixel 7a. This is what Google should focus on. In this price category, they are untouchable. I'm glad they got this trophy. Good job.
handing out the Wooden Spoon Awards too. The first is the iPhone SE.
This is actually kind of funny. I think the SE is a terrible phone. I don't know why they gutted the Mini. I think the Mini was an amazing phone. Sure, the battery life sucked, but you're still getting like the niceness of, you know, the latest iPhones just in a super small package. SE is terrible. I agree with that. I wonder what the other one is.
Being sold for that full fat $429.
This is our budget phone, by the way, $429. Criminal. Imagine if Apple sold an iPhone mini with like a processor that's 2 years old by them for $500. It would sell like crazy, trust me.
Google Pixel Fold. And I should be clear here. I'm glad that Google entered this.
I agree. I say I agree because I never got the phone. They gave me an empty box. Thanks, Google. Worst smartphone of the year.
What is the best flagship phone? Phone of the year 2023.
I'm telling you, if this is not the S23 Ultra, I'm boycotting this 100%.
The Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra
Yes.
is, for the most part, a masterclass. It's probably
Yes.
the biggest box ticker to ever exist.
Yes.
Lots of cameras and lots of good cameras. Check. You want a top-of-the-line screen? Check.
Check.
Continuous software support? Check.
Check.
You want to customize it to your heart's content? Check.
Check.
I do think the S23 Ultra does enough.
Let's go! Let's go! No exaggeration, guys. Like, out of all the phones that I've used in my life, which isn't very long, the S23 Ultra is the best smartphone I have ever used. On Android side, I still think iPhones have a place in my heart, but you really can't go wrong with either one. You can watch all my S23 Ultra versus iPhone videos. It's pretty much neck and neck, but man, am I happy that Samsung won this award. Well deserved. I'm so happy.
Smartphone. But it doesn't sit there on its own.
Huh?
One more phone. The iPhone 15 Pro Max also deserves to share this position.
Mostly for the camera improvements we talked about earlier, I literally noticed them
Every single time I hit that.
Thank you.
But also,
Bro, I've been preaching this since the beginning of the year. You can't go wrong with either, but man, I really, really want to stress this. Samsung, the S23 Ultra came out in February of this year. Ow, that hurt, by the way. But the fact that that phone has stood the test of time all year, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and we're in December. And there's almost no phone that can compete with it, arguably other than the iPhone, at least here in the States. Like, I think Samsung needs to give credit. I don't think Apple should be up there, no disrespect to Apple, but if it's the best, it should be the only one in its category. And from the fact that it was released at the beginning of the year, that alone, I would say S23 Ultra, bar none, best flagship smartphone of the entire year. Well done, Samsung. Anyway, guys, hopefully you enjoyed my reaction to the smartphone awards by Mrwhosetheboss. If you guys enjoyed this video, let me know down in the comments below if you agreed with what he said, if you agreed with what I said. Honestly, it's just opinions at the end of the day. Don't take one side over another. It's all fun and games, but I actually enjoyed this. I think most of his takes were pretty much in line with what I had in mind. Don't necessarily agree with the Sony picks, but once again, in terms of a technicality, I understand. But who cares about most of the categories? It's the best smartphone awards. If you don't get the best phone of the year, who cares, right? And I'm glad that the S23 Ultra won. I knew it as soon as I started using it. I was like, this is it. This is what a smartphone should be. No disrespect to Apple, but I haven't had my SIM card in an iPhone since I got the S23 Ultra. It's that good. Anyway, guys, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Appreciate every single sub, like, and comment. And as always, guys, much love. Thank you for having me, Mr. Who's the Boss. I will attend next year. Best compact phone, I want to say it's probably going to be the Zenfold. Zenfold. Poco phone. Poco phone. Poco phone. What I say, man, like, even though I don't